Hello and welcome to the Bad Psychics episode. What episode number is it, Z?
I have no idea.
Okay, it's it's
Just
it's it's it's, ep-
episode.
it's an episode of Bad Psychics. We're reviewing our predictions for the Women's Euros that has finished last week. I'm joined by the lovely Jeeta and the ever lovely Z. How are you both doing?
All good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you doing, Jeeta?
Good. Excited to see how poorly we all did at predicting this.
Yes, yes. It'll be certainly be something, all right. So how much of you? How much did we all watch the Women's Euros? Hopefully more than the Club World Cup.
Definitely more than the Club World Cup. Yeah, I think I watched I watched a few of the group games, and then other sporting interests sort of got into the way a bit,
Hmm.
and then I watched a couple of the matches at the end.
Okay.
So lots of the start, lots of the end, not very much of the middle.
Yeah.
I was a bit back and forth. I think it was unfortunate that I was on holiday around while most of the matches were
Hmm.
going on, because I wasn't on my phone much, but I tried to watch when I could. I'd say best guess is I probably watched 5 matches,
Okay. So we're
something
hoping.
like that. I think I got both of the semifinals,
Okay.
part of the final, and then like a group stage and one knockout
Okay.
match.
Yeah. So we're all in roughly the same boat then. I think we all watched at least a bit of it. I'm kind of curious. Where was the thing? Where was the Euros broadcast in the America? Was it on one of
It
the?
was on
It
Fox.
was on Fox. Okay, so it was on like an actual sports channel. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
being
yeah.
transmitted.
Everything was on Fox or Fox Sports.
Okay,
So I was able to watch it
okay,
quite easily.
good stuff. Good stuff. Right. So, without further ado, let us jump into the results. And I've got our predictions up on the screen here, so let us go through them one by one. So, for Group A, I predicted that Norway and Iceland would go through. Z predicted that Switzerland and Norway would go through, and Gita predicted that Iceland and Norway would go through, so like me. And the real uh, the real result was Norway and Switzerland going through. So big psychic Z is psychic again. Um, uh, so is there any? So you correctly chose Switzerland. Do you think it was the host advantage, like you sort of hinted at in the predictions episode?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably notable that in two of their games they scored goals on or after the 90th minute, which I think is the kind of stuff that you do when you have a big crowd following behind you.
Mm,
So I think if anything, the surprise within the group is that the people pushing those two teams were Finland and not Iceland. Iceland were
yeah,
pretty abject in the end.
yeah. So and Gita, I believe we did say this could be a bit open. So I suppose you're not overly surprised that Iceland were the ones sort of not in the mix.
I'm surprised Iceland walked away with no points.
Hmm.
I think I would have expected Iceland to do a bit better than that. I think it's disappointing that they lost kind of handedly. I mean,
Hmm.
it's interesting. They lost 1-0 to Finland. They lost 2-0 to Switzerland. They lost
Hmm.
4-3, but to Norway, but of those goals, they scored in the 84th and a 95th minute penalty.
Hmm.
So for most of the match, they were, dead and buried. Um, and I think that's a disappointing showing. Like, I
Hmm.
think that compared to what they would have been expected to do, that was they they will not be happy with that. They will not be close to happy with that. And I'm a bit surprised, but that's how some of these things happen. And Finland, they did enough. They beat their competition at the bottom of the table. Um, kept it close against Finland, or sorry, kept it close against Switzerland. It almost actually switched. Switzerland with that late equalizer and that deciding match was
Yeah.
a big moment. But yeah,
I can't argue with that. And so we'll switch over to the scores and let's reveal what we all got. So as you can see, we've me and Zita have 2 points for predicting Norway correctly, and Z got all 4. So yay!
I did a competent.
Yes, imagine doing that. Couldn't be us. Let's move on to our next group, which is Group B. We all predicted Spain and Italy to go through, and I guess somewhat unsurprisingly, they went through. And I believe it was pretty comfortably, although Italy was run close by Belgium. I think that was the sort of the potential sort of difference that could have been a difference between us all. So Gita, Italy sort of breaking their group curse in the Euros. Deserved, you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was really close. You know, they got beaten comfortably by Spain, and they had a 1-0 win against Belgium and a 1-1 draw against Portugal, where Portugal scored late on. I can't say with confidence that I watched either of those. I watched the Spain-Portugal match that opened the group stage, which was just an absolute beatdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about how Italy actually played in some of those early matches, but looking at the score lines, you know, it looks close. It looks like it was a bit on a knife's edge. You know, it's never reassuring to go through in a group stage with a negative goal difference.
Yeah.
Is perhaps the way that I'd put it.
Yeah, and Z, Spain living up to expectations, as Gita mentioned, demolishing everyone.
Yeah, I think I commented on how it would probably be pretty easy for Spain in the groups. It turned out to be. I worried that maybe they could come unstuck a bit later, but we'll get to that. I think the interesting thing for me was that this particular group felt the most like men's football.
Okay.
And I mean that both positively and negatively. Positively in that I think some of the style of play that Spain and Italy produced, they played some really good stuff. Quite enjoyable to watch. I think the downside is there seems to be a consistency with certain sides that both in men's and women's they tend to be a bit divey and yell at the referee, and I thought it was interesting because I don't know, I associate women's football with a bit more fair play,
Yeah.
and the Italians especially were just rolling around on the floor any opportunity they could get. It was very irritating.
Yeah, do you think that sort of, I don't know, sort of potentially people watching the men's game and sort of copying their stuff really, rather than anything learnt, or potentially maybe the manager's saying you can sort of do this and maybe get away with it? Potentially a trend.
Indeed. Hope not.
Yeah, I hope not as well, but we'll see. And with that, we will jump back, show the scores, and everyone got 4 points. Yay! We all know what we're doing sometimes.
So this one we did.
This one we did, yes. Although it was the most obvious one. Moving on to Group C, me and Z both picked Sweden and Germany to go through, whereas Gita had Germany and Denmark to go through. Which, unfortunately for him, did not occur, as Sweden pretty much just swept the group. Were you potentially expecting Sweden to struggle a bit more?
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it was a bit of like I wasn't confident in Sweden, and I thought Denmark might be able to pull up some trees, and it's tricky because the Denmark-Sweden match was 1-0 to Sweden, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, you know, that was interesting. Like that could have been That could have switched very easily. Maybe my pick with Denmark isn't bad, and then they lost 2 other matches by 1 goal deficits. So I think that's one of the things that's tricky, especially in such a short round robin where you only play 3 matches. Is they've lost all 3 matches by 1 goal. Um, I'm surprised that they lost to Poland, but Poland, credit to them, played very well, and awesome that they were able to do so well at this stage for their team. That's great for them. Denmark will definitely be disappointed by that result, and I'm, disappointed that it feels like it was very close to being a different opportunity, and yet that didn't really happen.
Makes sense. And Z, Poland actually winning a game. That was a bit more than expected.
It was. I think I don't know. I think maybe Danish morale was down. I think yeah. At the point that this match was played, both teams already knew they were out of the tournament. I get the impression that it was possibly a slightly rotated, slightly lazy performance. But fair play to Poland for getting a win. Whilst I was confident in predicting Sweden and Germany to go through, I did think Poland would struggle. And I think even if they don't get through, seeing one of the bigger underdogs achieve something, I think it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty rare event for someone to actually get a win on the Euros debut. In either men's or women's football, to be honest. So yeah, this is a well done to them. The big polls. We all love a big poll. Speaking of big, let's move over to the scores. And it's like Mike Bassett, it's 4-4 fucking 2. Me and Z with 4, and Jeter getting 2. Right, so our final group is Group D, and so it's quite a wide array of predictions. Z predicted France and the Netherlands, Jeter predicted England and France, and I predicted England and Wales. I'm not going to talk about Wales. Yes, that happened. That was very much me huffing some copium, as the kids would say. Anyway, obviously Wales finished bottom of the group, we'll ignore them. But the qualification people that qualified were France and England. Z, so I believe you reason for not predicting England in this one was due to a fair few dropouts. Do you think the sort of the morale and cohesion held a bit more than you expected?
Look, obviously we all know that England ended up winning the tournament, and so to have predicted them to go out in the first round, usually you'd be like really disappointed with getting something that wrong. But that said, their place coming out of the group came down to goal difference. They had a pretty stinking performance to begin with against France. And I think at every step it seemed to be determination and will that possibly won out over quality of football. Let's put it that way. And that's not to say England were lucky to get through by any means. But it was just, I said that I didn't think this was as high quality a team as the previous Euros. And I stick by that. But they did enough. And that's what well managed teams do. They find a way to scrap through. And Group D was just the first instance of that.
And Jeter, so France was able to get a pretty comfortable win over the Netherlands to knock them out. Although England winning would have knocked them out anyway. Potentially a bit disappointing for them to flump out in the groups, or was it just this was a bit of a group of death?
Yeah, it's a tricky group. I mean, I don't know unless they were, I feel like the strengths of when we talked about this, the strengths of group B through D were all
Hmm.
about even. Group D was probably the hardest group. Group A was significantly easier than the other three groups. And I think you knew that one of the major sides was going to, necessarily not get out of this group. That's how it works. Only two
Yeah.
teams made it through, and there were three good teams. But that being said, it had to be someone, and I'm not entirely surprised it was the Netherlands. Um, you know, they dispatched Wales comfortably and then got battered twice. And I think that means like I'm not surprised that this was the result.
Hmm.
Obviously I'm not surprised. I predicted this is the only group that I got bang on. Um, but I felt fairly confident that France and England would do well, and they did.
Makes sense. So moving over to the scores. That means Mal, me, and Z have 2, and Jeter, as he says, gets a full fat 4. So pretty even so far, I think. I think Z is just about ahead. Me and Jeter tied, but still to play for with the still losing semi-finalists, which we predicted to be. So me and Z both went for Norway as a losing semi-finalist, but I picked the same Spain and he picked France. Jeter picked England and Italy as losing semi-finalists. So to go through the quarterfinals, so England managed to get past Sweden after a pretty terrible penalty shootout, to be honest. Germany beat France after a much better penalty shootout. Spain beat Switzerland in a kind of expected 2-0 win. And in something that I don't think any of us would have predicted, even based on our group stage predictions. Italy beating Norway, which I think was particularly the shock of the quarterfinals. Maybe a bit unexpected, see?
I mean, not if you're Jeter. Apparently, he had Italy in the
Hmm.
semis. Yeah, I for me, I didn't fully see Italy making that deeper run. But like I think Italy beating Norway is an upset, but equally when it's only one game
Hmm.
of football, they
Yeah.
they they won one extra game that we predicted to. It was a close game.
Yeah.
Those things can happen.
Yeah.
It's an upset, but not of like massive
Yeah.
proportions.
Yeah. And it was another 90th minute winner to see them through. So yeah, as you say, it could have gone either way. So that leaves us with the semi-finals, where England beat Italy 2-1 after extra time, after 2 very, very, very late goals, and Spain also needed extra time to get past Germany. So that means that Jeter was the only one to predict the losing semi-finalists. And could have been 2 Jeter if England hadn't
Yeah,
squeaked through.
this is one of the things that I was feeling a little bit hard done by. Is I got all four semifinalists right.
Yeah.
It's just because I'd predicted them to, a couple different things to happen in the draw. Like I'd predicted England to win their group as opposed to France.
Yeah.
And I'd predicted Germany to win their group or Germany to win their group and they didn't. My draw ended up looking a little bit different. So I feel a little bit unfortunate that like I've predicted the correct four teams, but I ended up in a situation where the two semifinalists that I predicted were playing each other, or the two losing semifinalists and the two finalists that the two people that I thought would be the final turned into the semifinal. From a points perspective, it's obviously a bit unfortunate, but I am content with my ability to adjudge who I thought would do well in the tournament.
Yeah.
It just, will mean that necessarily I've lost out on a bunch of points.
Yeah. For sure. So let's quick view the scores. That means Jeter gets a big fat 5, whereas all of us, me and Z, get 0. Boo. So, for the finalists, losing finalists, I had Sweden, Z had Spain, Gita had Germany, and the winner, me and Z went for Germany, and Gita went for Spain. And it ended up obviously being England and Spain in the final, with England winning again on penalties after again another particularly less poor quality than the quarterfinal, but there was still some pretty questionable penalties in that one. I think maybe the England curse of penalty shootouts is kind of going on the other team now whenever they face the England women's team. So England going back to back. Z, pretty pleased that it's come home again. Stayed home? Question mark.
Well, I mean, my sporting loyalties go to South Africa, so I'm less sort of patriotically minded on this one. Did I watch the final? Yes. Was I pleased for England? Yes. Um, I definitely wanted them to beat Spain, but yeah, I don't quite get the same overall joy. That being said, you know, Hannah Hampton is a hero. What a goalkeeper!
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she very much. Very much won it, as you said. So Gita, the two best teams in Europe, and you will have had a fair few experience of watching the US women's national team. How did it sort of compare to them? Do you think? And
yeah, I think as we got further into the tournament, the quality of play was pretty good. I think that there could be a little bit of work done on people spending time working on their penalties. The standard of the shootouts was abysmal. But beyond that, it was. I watched almost the entirety of the Germany-Spain semifinal match. I had it on while I was like wrapping up a work day, and the standard in that match especially, like I was watching it and I was like, some of these attacks are like really high level stuff. Like you can tell that the two sports are catching each other. I think, it's a tricky one. England have obviously done a very good job defending getting. It was a very big win for them.
Yeah,
I guess is the best way to put it. And I think that, once they went to penalties, they handled it very well. I think that it was a cagey affair, is maybe the way that I would have described the final, and it was enjoyable to watch. Like I think that the growth of the women's game is really good, and I think that over the next couple of years we will see the sport continue to develop in a meaningful way.
Yep, makes sense. So let's have a look at what that does for our lovely scores. And well, because he's the only person who got anything right in the final, sits in the losing finals to be Spain. He gets 10 points. Everyone else gets 0. So that means the results are. I sit on a lowly 12 points. Gita has 17, and Z streaking out ahead with 24. Yes, so a bit of a gap, but that is definitely make upable with the section 2 miscellaneous section, whatever we call it, which will be coming up right now. So onto our miscellaneous / numbers section. This is where we predict various guff around the tournament, and whoever gets the closest gets some amount of points, or exactly some amount of points. So, first off, we have our total goals predictions. I predicted 95, Z picked the highest with 99, and Gita went quite low with 86. So, the total number of goals in the entire tournament was 106, which I believe is is a bit more than the previous tournament. Yes, that had 95. So, an increase of about 10%. Did you notice any particular difference in the scoring, C, whilst you're watching?
I wouldn't say especially. I think if you look at the knockout stages, I think those were somewhat to be expected. I think Group D had a lot of goals, and Spain in the group stage, I think, contributed a fair few. You also had the 4-3 game, Norway Iceland.
Yeah.
So like I think it was less that there were consistently more goals being scored. I think there were just a few more one-sided hammerings or mad goal fests than the previous tournament.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And let's jump over to our scores. And it was 5 for the closest, 2 for the second closest, and 0 for the furthest away. So that means Z gets 5, I get 2, and Jita gets a big fat 0.
Ooh.
Okay. Next up, more numbers. So I'm going to put the number of yellow cards. I predicted 77, which was quite a bit lower than both G and Z. Z predicted 99, so the goals, and G's predicted 90. It turns out, from what I read on, I think it's been the ESPN statistics for this, because I couldn't find it anywhere else for some reason. There were 69 nice yellow cards, which means, which was quite a bit lower than, quite a bit lower than even I predicted. Jita, any thoughts on the level of discipline? Because that was a good 20 odd below what you predicted.
Yeah, I mean, I think interestingly enough, without spoiling what happens in the next category, some of my predictions on what I expected to happen did happen. That, like, by and large, things were neat and tidy, except for reds that got dealt out. That I thought that, on the whole, this wasn't like, there weren't a ton of matches where it was like yellow card after yellow card, yellow card. There were a few moments where it's like a red has to be given. And I think that that's increasingly more what the men's game looks like. That I think is you have players who are more technically capable. You're going to have less of like, I'm just going to bowl you over and tackle you. Like, there's as more technique comes into the game, it becomes less of a question of like having to foul people, because technique also is included on the defensive end. That, like, there were some really good defensive shifts put in some of the matches that I watched, and they were doing so without fouling. And I think that comes as the game continues to develop. So it was enjoyable, and I certainly didn't feel like matches were getting helped with referees that had eager whistles.
Makes sense. So with that means I, thankfully, get the full 5 points. Vegeta gets 2, and Z gets 0 for predicting highest. So moving on, sticking with discipline, red cards. We touched upon it earlier, but I predicted 3 red cards, Z predicted 2, and Jita went quite high with 8 red cards. And it turns out that going high was the right move, because there were 6 red cards in the tournament, which seemed surprising to me, considering I think there were only 2 in the entirety of the last tournament in 2023. Z, as you predicted the lowest, are you kind of surprised to see that level of sort of, I guess, potentially more serious fouls?
Yeah, I am surprised. I think it's especially odd when you compare it to the yellow cards, because logic would dictate that more yellow cards probably equals more red cards, because people get them 2 yellow cards, get a red. So to have a very low yellow number and, in my opinion, a very high red number, yeah, it's surprising. And I don't know exactly what it speaks to. It feels like a statistical anomaly to me that I can't really quantify.
Yeah, I think from when I wanted to double check, because again it did seem quite high. Quite a few of them were second yellow cards. I think it was 4 second yellows and 2 straight reds.
It was either 4-2 or 3-3. I know
Okay.
one of the straight reds was a big moment.
Yeah.
One of the German defenders yanked the hair of a French player.
Yeah, that's
Um,
on something that could really happen in women's football. Well, then again, I suppose you could just yank Fellaini's hairdo down, can't you? And he'll be crying for a red card.
It's the murder of Sideshow Bob.
Yeah. Uh, Speaking of, well, hopefully not speaking of murder. I don't know
that
why it
might be
says
the
that.
episode title.
Oh yeah, I. Speaking of murder,
Yes,
excellent.
yes. Speaking of murder, Z got 0 points again.
Hey.
Hey, with Jitty getting 5, just about, because he was two off instead of me 3 off. If only it was one yellow card, I could have gotten another 5, but that's settled for second closest in 2 points, which is very unfortunate, I know. So moving on to top goal scorer. Me and Z went for the same people on this one, which was Leah Schuller from Germany, and Gita predicted Alessia Russo from England. Okay, I'm going to have to hold myself there for a second, because I might have put in the wrong scores for this. Because I put you as Gita was getting points for being joint second, because I think Wikipedia was wrong when I looked at it, because I had Russo as scoring 3 goals, but he only got 2. So apologies, Gita. You're getting some. You're kind of getting muddied out of points there.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
unfortunate.
Brutal.
Yes, but anyway, the top goal scorer was Esther Gonzalez, also from Spain, who finished with 4 goals. And just because of the way it worked out, there were 4 people who also scored 3 goals. So the top 5 goal scorers, which would have won us 2 points, were very neatly in that second category, which is good. Both of our picks got 2 goals, so we all missed out on points here. So Esther Gonzalez, potentially a bit of an out there name, although she's playing in the US, so maybe we sort of didn't see her as much. Do you any thoughts on her being the top goal scorer, albeit not by much?
Yeah, I mean, look, she has a good career record in internationals, 36 and 53, so basically scoring 2 every 3 games. Um, I I think my main thing was how would Spain deal with having dropped Hermoso.
Hmm.
It I thought what they might do would be to look to the future. Instead, it feels like in Gonzalez they went for reliability. She is 32. She is plying her trade for Gotham. I don't necessarily know that I see her as a hugely long-term part of the Spain squad. Like it would be, I'd say a little less than 50-50 that she'll even be at the next Euros in 4 years' time. But she did a good job. She came up a lot earlier in Spain's run. Um, I don't think anyone will be complaining.
Makes sense. Just a confirmation on the screen there. Everyone gets 0 points for that one. Moving on to another player of the tournament. The points for this were, I think, 5 points for guessing the exact player of the tournament and 2 points if they were in the theme of the tournament. Turns out the 5 points were needed because Gita correctly predicted. Let me get her first name up because I've forgotten it. Aitana Bonmati to be the player of the tournament, which was pretty impressive seeing as didn't she have, was it meningitis before?
Yeah.
Like a couple of days before the tournament, and there was quite a big worry that she just wasn't going to be there at all. But she ended up turning up and ended up being the best player of the tournament according to UEFA. So Gita, are you proud of your omniscience?
I am. I mean, it wasn't that far of an outfield pick. I picked Spain as winners, and she was reigning Ballon d'Or winner. So it's it felt like the best guess. Obviously, with player of the tournament, it's a bit of a throwing a dart at a dartboard and hoping, because anything can happen. Someone can go out there and bag a brace, and that's hat trick and a brace, and that's enough. But Bomati was ever present in the Spain matches that I watched. I felt like every single time that an attack was coming, it was off of something that she had started or a pass that she had played. Like, it was just ever present, which was really impressive, especially considering, as we all noted, she was not 100% coming into the tournament. So
Definitely, sure. Me and Z predicted. I think I predicted it's Clara Ball, and Z predicted the Arsenal player Mariona, also from Spain. Neither of which got in a player in the team of the tournament at all. So that is us in the mud. And scores wise, that means that. No, I pressed the back key on the wrong thing there. Apologies. Scores wise, that means Jita gets another lovely number of points, and me and Z get 0. So Jita seems to be doing quite well so far.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll take the 7 points on the last 2 rounds.
Yep.
It's oh wait, no, that should be.
Oh, should be.
Yeah, because when you backed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the thing I was going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, Jita, you only got 5 instead of 7.
Oh well.
Never mind. Anyway, next time, the team who's going to get the worst goal difference in the group. I went for Poland. Z and Jita went for Wales. Very sadly, Wales was very much correct, as they pretty much got battered in every single game. I think they lost all the games by at least, want to say, 3 or 4 goals. I will give that a check. Yes, they lost 3-0 to Netherlands, 4-1 to France, and 6-1 to England. I mean, they finished on -11, and I don't think anyone else got into negative double figures. I think the next closest was Portugal on -6. Again, this was very much me huffing the copium, and thinking that Wales might do something, but sadly they did not. Z, any other thoughts? Or was it just kind of just Wales being Wales?
I mean, look, I think Poland was a perfectly reasonable shout, and if England had had a better first game, and if Denmark were sort of still in the running and didn't heavily rotate, then I think it's, I think your copium was thinking Wales could go through. I don't think. I think it was a bit of a toss up between Poland and Wales for that question. I wouldn't call it copium, just mild, reasonable optimism.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take that. And skills on the board. I mean, Z and Jita get an extra 5 points, and I continue my streak of 0s. Although Z did end his streak of 4 zeros there, and making a nice palindromic number at the moment.
Yes.
Jumping back to our sheet, and it's predicting the number of 5 goal batterings, or 5 plus goal batterings. I went for highest of 3, Z went for 2, Jita went for 1, and there were 2 5 plus goal wins in the tournament. That means Z gets it spot on. Spain beating Portugal 5-0, and England beating Wales 6-1. So no more than like 5 goals. But still there were two of them. That means Z gets a lovely set of points. Jita, do you have any thoughts on potentially some more closer games than we all thought?
Yeah,
at least, more than
I mean, I think it's a statement of improved quality once again. That I think that was one of the undertones of this tournament, was that there's less cases where it's like, oh, a team that like is just very clearly better is just going to go out there and win by 12. Like there's no like crazy thumpings. I mean, like a 5-0 and a 6 big. But one of those is Spain and Portugal, and Portugal's a decent side, and every so often that happens in the men's game as well, that like one team just goes out there and is at it.
Yeah.
But I think it's good that, as much as it's entertaining to watch, teams score lots of goals, it's also a statement of improved quality that, it's both sided.
Yeah. So there's a gap in between potentially smaller teams and the bigger teams that they would have faced in say 4 years ago or so. Which is good. Just looking back to the score sheet, Z gets 5 points, me and Jeter get a big fat 0. And our next one was another number guessing game, the average attendance, which was I predicted 16,101, Z predicted 15,604, and Jeter predicted 15,500. Which we all thought basically was because there were smaller grounds in this one. The average attendance won't be pushed up as much by games at Old Trafford or Wembley. And it turns out we were completely incorrect, because the average attendance was quite a bit higher than last time. It was 21,203, which was, I think last time it was like 18,000 something. So, I mean, it very much went in the positive direction, which is always good. I believe the scoring for this one was 2 points if you were just closest in general, 5 points if you were within 1,000, 12, 15 points if you went 250. And obviously neither of us were anywhere close. But as I was the highest one, I at least get some pity points, which I'll show on the screen. Any thoughts on everyone being particularly wrong and massively wrong by this Z? Was it kind of a bit unexpected, considering just the size of the stadiums?
It's a little unexpected, but unexpected in a wonderful way. I wondered how the tournament would do, especially after sort of Switzerland might have gone out like I had them going out in the quarters. I didn't know whether that would impact things. For me, I think it shows that interest in the women's game is growing, and as much as that might upset some has-been grifters on Twitter,
Yes.
I think that can only be a good thing. There's always going to be idiots that comment, sort of, it's not great compared to the men. Well, the best way to improve that quality is more exposure, more financial input, and hopefully the kind of numbers that this tournament was getting will increase visibility and increase the generosity of people who might be willing to put a few quid in some coffers.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah, like I cannot disagree with that. Again, hopefully it's sort of the sort of time money combo always should make things better. And maybe I've kind of already seen it, as we said. There's definitely market improvement in quality, so that should definitely get better over time. Moving on to another guessing game, the referee for the final. As it says at the tournament, as is kind of now tradition on bad circuits, we always guess the referee for the final. Like not even in real, not even in just real sports, in fake sports as well. So I went for Catalin Koshar, Z went for Alves Batista, and Gita went for I can't remember his first name, but last name was Grundbacher, Desiree Grundbacher, the Swiss referee. But none of us got it right. It was Stephanie Frappert, the French referee for the final. So we were all completely wrong, which means that we all scored a big fat 0. Any thoughts on the referee, Jeter? was it just a
No,
guessing game?
I mean, I think it was interesting. One of the discussions that we had was, would you be able to pair people who spoke languages and kind of create a situation where everyone was on a similar language, and that was what fed into a lot of our decisions.
Yeah.
Interestingly, one of the assistants was an Italian, as was the fourth official. But the Romance languages aren't so far apart, and everyone who referees at this sort of level, they're all consummate professionals. So, they figure out how to make it work, even if I guess maybe they do or don't speak the same language.
Yeah. Yeah, plus you'd imagine if they're at this level, they're probably refereed in different countries and at least have a vague understanding of basic knowledge of other languages. So you kind of hope they would know what they're talking about. Moving on to the bonus questions. So I'll start with mine. A game gets delayed for 30 minutes. I was kind of hoping there would be a random thunderstorm or something like that pops up that just delays the game. It didn't. I don't think any games were delayed at all. Which I guess is a marked improvement for UEFA from other tournaments they've tried to host. So yeah, well done UEFA for that at least. Jeter's was the Golden Boot was by more than 2 goals, which I think we all agreed was pretty optimistic. And yeah, it was decided by 1 goal, with Gonzalez getting 4 and the other pack getting 3. So we were both out of it this time. And Z's, a male VAR official will be used in the final. That's very much correct. We had the video of the VAR referee was Willie Deladroit. It's a French last name.
And we also had, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. And we also had 2 male assistant video VAR referees. So so either way, you would have been you kind of triple right.
VAR was run by a Willie.
Yes, it was indeed run by a Willie. Yes.
Consummate professional you are, Z.
Yeah. So, as per these scores we agreed upon in the last one, I think I went for the high offer of 6 and -6. Dieter went for, I think it was 5 and -4 for his. And Z went for 4 and 2. So that means if we go to the scores, I get -6, Dieter gets -4, and Z only one to get something right gets +4, which means he makes up a fair bit of points on all of us.
Yeah, man.
Yep. And that means going to the totals. Hold on. There we go. Let's ignore that. So within this section, I only got 5 points. Great. Z got 19 and Jeter got 13. And if we combine it with our lovely results total we have on the screen here, to the overall total, we get that I finished well down in last with 17 points, which I think is a pretty terrible score considering. Jeter gets pretty respectable 30. That's probably most of the predictions right, which is reasonably right, which is always good. And Z with a pretty sizable lead of 13 for 43 points. Well done, Z.
Thank you. Let's go. I think that that ties me with Eloise, I think, for most episode wins. And I'd like to thank her for not being on this episode and probably beating me.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think we're planning on having Eloise on this episode, so it could all have been different. So, thoughts overall, Z, on your glorious victory?
Yeah, I mean, I think it very much helped that I did a pretty good job of predicting the group stages. I've got a fair number of points there, and then I also think it's always a big advantage if you can pick a bonus that actually happens, because even if it's small points, some people are nearly always going to lose points. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to demonstrate some knowledge of women's football.
Yep.
And most of all, I'm happy to beat Jeter.
There, and Jeter, are you kind of feeling a bit questioning your bonus prediction choice?
Be honest, my biggest thing is if the final had gone the other way, I win. You know, it was a 20-point swing because Z would have lost 10 and I would have gotten 10.
Yep.
I think I would stand by the prediction of backing Spain. You know, fair play to England. They won it in a shootout. That match was really close. It could have gone either way. If they played it again today, I could have walked away as a winner. You know, and I don't know that the score necessarily looks like that with it being a 13-point defeat, but with how many points were up for grabs in the final and how few points overall were available, you really kind of had to get your losing finalist and your finalist right. And unfortunately, I got close, but it was one of those weird things where I got close enough on the group stages that I was off on the knockout predictions.
Yeah.
Which kind of threw me.
Yeah.
But you know, in another world, if that final gets replayed, maybe I'm triumphing my first win in the bad psychics era. But it will be coming soon. I'm confident of it.
That's said, you are a disappointment to your country because if anybody should be able to understand a shootout, it's an American.
Classic.
Yeah, here's the thing: I can't disappoint my countrymen because many of them don't know where these countries are that we just predicted.
That is true.
It's just tariff land.
Yeah. They certainly are. And on that note, thank you all for watching this lovely review episode. All our socials are below our names in the thing. And go and follow the podcast on wherever it is on socials. And join the Discord as well, if it's linked in the description. Hope it is. And remember, don't be bad psychic.
Oh, here we go again.
I'll get this right at some point.
Big mystics.
Always be big mystics, not big mistakes.
Please be big mystics, not big mistakes. There we go. Bye.
Gosh.
Nailed it.
There we go.